So it is time to have Bradford Ferguson come in and talk about the very boring news about Grok. I mean, it's pretty boring, right? I mean, CNBC had nothing on it, zip, zero. So I figure there must not be. I mean, they don't have one article. They don't have a reference. There's nothing at
Mm,
all about Grok for today on CNBC. So I'm just figuring it must have been a nothing burger.
yeah, they only passed the state of the art for everyone in a number of pretty hard evaluations, including humanity's last exam, which is a list of questions where it's like postdoc or experts in their field would have a hard time answering the questions.
I thought it was fun that Elon said that the problem now is that the humans can't come up with the questions.
Yeah, they need to be able to come up with questions or problems for it to solve and for us to have the answers to be able to grade it on.
Right.
So that's a challenging problem to have in order to make it maybe superhuman or super intelligent.
Yeah, so of course, my biggest question I had for you, because I know you have an entire department now. You've hired somebody for this kind of stuff. Plus, you yourself are quite apparently either talented or interested or love to deep dive. What have you guys done in the last 24 hours to experiment with Grok 4? Oh, and did you go all the way and get Grok 4 heavy?
No Grok 4 Heavy yet. So my my programmer, who's a full stack developer, that means he can take things from minimum viable product all the way to getting it hosted on Amazon Web Services or Microsoft Azure, and then fine tuning it, doing the performance on that, making it more efficient. Um, he's using Copilot right now, and then he uses a variety of models, and he might use Grok, but mainly ChatGPT, Claude, for programming. And the AI writes the code 100% uh, for him. And he's a programmer,
Right,
so
right.
it's a different way of thinking. He's much more efficient doing it. It's more enjoyable. And you're kind of supervising it, but you do have to work through issues. Like it can get stuck. You have to backtrack, that kind of thing. We'll be trying it out, but I didn't try it out programming wise yet today. Did have someone a client who had Grok write a program, but it was like super simple. Um, but I'm it looks really good from a thinking standpoint. So it has 10 times the amount of reasoning capability compared to Grok 3, just in the standard Grok 4. And then I think if you use Grok Heavy, it's it has multiple agents tackling it at the same time, and because they can be somewhat random in the paths they take. They'll tackle it in a different way, and then they all huddle and put their heads together at the end to see, okay, what's the best solution, and then that's presented to you. So that's what I understand Grok Heavy to be. I haven't added it yet, but I do want to check it out because we do get a lot of value out of the research implementations of these. So we do pay the $200 a month for ChatGPT Pro, which has deep research, which was superior to Grok's deep search.
Okay.
But I will want to be checking out what they have now with Grok. I haven't done that yet.
Well, so I've been playing around with Grok for today. I've been asking it the serious questions about things like, is it more likely that God exists and that Jesus rose from the dead than it is that Herodotus lived, but anyway, so I've been asking important questions, not these silly
Hmm.
questions about business and whatnot. But yeah, very good, very fast. Very, as it was in the past, very susceptible to reasoning and thinking through, and hearing my side and saying, "Oh, it's a good thought," and let me, add that idea into my thinking.
Hmm.
And I asked these same kind of questions. I don't know if it's Grok 3 or Grok 2, but somewhere along the line, I've done the similar kind of work, and it's very impressive the amount of knowledge it has. In a subject like theology, is pretty impressive. Bless you.
So did it get you to think more, Randy? I'm curious. Did it get you to have a new thought or to wonder about something?
Well, there were things that it brought up that I was not aware of, in particular when I started asking it about matter from non-matter. So
Hmm.
it was there are new so matter from non-matter is harder than life from non-life. And then you go one step further and you get to information or rules, if you will, or laws from non-laws. So in other words, so it agreed that the hardest question is actually laws from nothing. Where did the laws come from? And
Hmm.
the fact that the laws have continuity, that we can count on them. So that was I plugged all that in, and it did give me new things I hadn't heard about in terms of what people are thinking about in those areas, in terms of where those things could have come from, especially in light of some of the things that we're now thinking that we're discovering, at least about um, quantum theory.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know if this is true, but supposedly if atomic forces just within atoms were 1% stronger or weaker, then our universe wouldn't be able to sustain life.
It would just collapse.
Like I think if they were too weak, we wouldn't get like the heavy elements. Um, but if they're too strong, I forget. So it's I'm not an astrophysicist or a physicist or a atomic
Me either.
physicist.
Either, and I'm not a theologian either, but I did contemplate going back and getting my doctorate of divinity, and I just decided I was found out that my second wife was pregnant at just about that same time, and decided that would be unkind to go to night school while she was in that state. So
Mm,
anyway, but yeah, so I'm very impressed with its depth and also the
yeah.
speed. The speed is way up comparatively.
It seems like the speed and quality is decent,
Mhm.
and you're getting thinking with the default model. And then if you want more thinking, then you need to go with the heavy.
Right, exactly. So the other announcement with regard to Grok was that Grok is coming in our cars, and that will be either at the latest next week, so maybe this week or this weekend. Obviously, I've been very excited about that prospect. What are your thinkings? What are you thinking about with regard to Grok in the car?
So I was listening to a former Tesla engineer about this, and they said that they thought at first they may introduce it where you have to press a button to interact with it. So you press the button, then you talk on the mic, and then it sends a message via text out, and then you get a message back, and then it speaks back to you. And it does it pretty quickly, so
Mhm.
it should be pretty seamless. And they thought for now they'll use a button just for like potential liability and just initial rollout. But then they'll make it where you don't have to have the button to interact with it. And at first they think maybe, well, it won't have much of a memory of your interactions. And then they might do that for privacy reasons, but I think they should allow people to opt in so it can kind of grow and develop with you.
Yeah,
And I think the privacy issue is, what if someone else gets in your car?
right, right.
Maybe it's your brother, maybe it's your child, and
Your
then
mistress. Yeah.
starts asking you. are asking Grok, what you talk about with Grok. So there may be some protections where it forgets the
Right.
conversation, but then maybe they add that over time. But I think it's incredibly exciting. Like if you're traveling in an area or just exploring an area you've lived in your whole life, it could be a great tour guide and
Mhm.
tell you about some interesting things in your area.
Yeah, and we always had the games in the car when you're on a trip, like Slug Bug or some of these other ones. And imagine the potential for the kids playing with Grok, Grok coming up with interesting ideas and whatnot along the way. Yeah, I think there's just unlimited potential for Grok in the car. But what do I know? We'll find out maybe this weekend, maybe next week. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of videos coming forth on that one.
Yeah, I'm excited about Grok in the car. At least a third of people who get into a ride share or get into a taxi want to talk to the driver
Right,
or
right,
are okay being sociable, whereas two-thirds don't.
right.
They want the quiet ride. They want to get to their destination, play on their phones or whatever. But for those who do want to have a conversation or some entertainment, it would be great to have Grok there as an option.
What I haven't heard people talking about today is the impact that this kind of power, this kind of X's capabilities at the levels we're talking about, better than any postgraduate on any single subject. The power that this is going to provide for the sister companies. So Elon posted that he asked Grok for questions about material science that are not in any book or on the internet, and
Hmm.
he gave him outstanding answers on these kinds of questions. So while we've had the sister companies all trading back and forth with things like material science or with regard to energy solutions or whatever, as
Programming,
program, et cetera, now all of a sudden the sister company is in charge of or has control of the most powerful LLM in the world, which could give Tesla answers, fast answers to problems as they arise that would be on a level that they've never been able to do before. I would think this would be a competitive advantage, even on top of the competitive advantage that they've already had.
yeah. So let me reiterate. Grok 4's benchmarks are ahead of a number of their competitors and on very hard topics. So humanity's last exam was the big one, but um, it it's up there, and Tesla or SpaceX they would be using Grok heavy. So
Yes, yes.
if they
And
wanted
even
to think
beyond.
really deeply about things, um, yeah, it'd be interesting to see because Grok would have access to all this research that's happened, even the latest research. I wonder if it could figure out like atomic interactions faster than the battery lab
Yeah,
at Dalhousie University in Canada could.
yeah, yeah,
That would be pretty exciting.
yeah.
Or like, how can they make a LFP in a cylindrical cell,
Right.
or things, or what's the impact of that?
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, that is exciting. I would agree with you.
And different companies get some kind of capability like this and they use it at different levels. My company, I know, for instance, we tried to really be out in front, but we sometimes fell way behind back when they started, when companies like Target and Kmart started first wanting to send their purchase orders through the computer rather than
Mm.
sending you a hard copy, and then wanting to pay you, do the payables and the payments through the computers. We were behind the curve on that. Okay, so we were not nearly as big, obviously, as a lot of people that were their suppliers. So we had to buy all that equipment and come up to speed.
Hmm.
So I think about that across the board. And so Tesla having that power and then being able to add to that power. In other words, he talked about the tools that aren't part of the system now, but he would be able to add the tools himself. He'd be able to combine with the tools that he needed for Tesla or for SpaceX that he felt would give him even more power. And General Motors and Ford and Mercedes and Toyota and go on down the list, none of these people would have anything remotely close to that in terms of their ability to iterate and move faster than faster as fast as Tesla.
So earlier you mentioned that they're having trouble coming up with questions to challenge it further. What one way that they can get around that is they can expose it to the world in an increasing way, where they're exposing video to it, they're exposing it to sensor data, whether that's touch or machinery with electrical, resistance, current, whatever, torque sensors. But yeah, temperature, there's different gases you can sense pretty easily. It's like there's a carbon dioxide.
Sure.
You have all kinds of sensors. Tesla can give and gives a strong word, so maybe
Yeah.
sell some of their data to Grok as far as helping Grok to understand the world
Hmm.
from a driving perspective, but then also with video from Tesla's Optimus humanoid robots, where it has the cameras, it's got all the tactile sensors in the hands, all the sensors in the motors, all that data could be used to help Grok learn the universe.
100%. So then I started thinking about years ago, there was a big scandal where certain brokerages, I think in New Jersey, had access to some faster cabling than
Hmm.
anybody else. And even though they were further away from Wall Street, their cabling was so much faster that they were getting a fraction of a second advantage over all the other brokerage houses with regard to trading. And this was
Hmm.
giving them millions and millions of dollars of trading profits until they were caught and had to cut it out. I was wondering, in a much fairer and not something that anybody could be caught at, whether companies like yours, for instance, would be using this new Grok capability to get better and better at predicting. They mentioned that they were in cahoots with the predicting company. I forget the name right now. You'll be able to tell me the predictive company that
Yeah,
does.
the one that's in France,
Yeah,
the Poly Market.
Polymarket. They have a
Hmm.
partnership with Polymarket, which they expect to expand on, and they predicted a 22% chance that the Dodgers will win the World Series this year. I think it's because of some pitcher that also hits. Anyway, so there's so what about you guys? Are you thinking that you're going to end up with a substantial advantage in being able to predict financial kinds of things?
We're exploring that by having uh, LLMs help us look at financial data and see if financial data can be predictive, just like past data. We're also, and this isn't a now thing yet, but we're also going to use it to help us research companies. So it's very good at researching your competition, so understanding the competition of a company. Um, One company we invested in recently is Bloom Energy, and they make natural gas fuel cells. So there's a massive shortage of natural gas, essentially natural gas engines. So
Mhm.
they're called turbines,
Right.
but they're engines. They're not like big wind turbines or anything. And use that to create power for the data center, and understanding the shortage of natural gas turbines. The LLMs were really good at that, and being able to tell me companies that are overseas, so they don't they're not headquartered in the US, they're not in the S&P 500 or in the Russell or anything. You could tell me about companies that are also private,
Hmm.
so they don't even have to be public. So, if the most dominant player is private or a substantial competitor is private, I need to know that to understand the risk and competitive positioning. Yeah, so I think it's going to be important to look at these types of things, but now like I think a lot of people are going to do it though. But a
Oh,
lot of people are lazy when it comes to AI.
100%. I mean, I've said this forever. My last profession before I was a YouTube influencer was as a marketing consultant, but my marketing consulting almost always ended up being general consulting, and I had over 400 clients during that time.
Hmm.
It would usually take me less than 2 hours to know more about that company's industry and about their competitive position and about the marketing strategies that were being used by their competition than they did. Usually
Hmm.
less than 2 hours to be able to come back and completely change their whole analysis of their business because they didn't recognize that there was this way that all of their competition, they didn't even go to the trouble to look at their competitive websites.
Hmm.
So it would seem to me that this will also be true in financial planning, financial investing for folks that companies like yours are commonly going to be, we're doing fine.
Yeah, so Tesla isn't the only company we invest in. So we want to know when we're looking at a company, what's their advantage over their competitors?
Right.
It's key. Is it uh, are they the lowest cost provider, or might they be after they develop a technology or put in a new manufacturing plant? So we need to know that. We need to know how their product stacks up compared to competitors or their service. Um, that's really important in figuring out who's going to be the leader in a space. So I invested in Tesla in 2019 because Tesla at the time had the biggest scale with batteries, and I knew they had the lowest cost solution when it comes to autonomy, but that they were also a low cost manufacturer for EVs, even though they weren't profitable at a company level, they were profitable at a factory level.
Right. Right.
Um, so these things are really important to understand and keep tabs on. Probably the humanoid robot, like it'd be good to look at that competitive positioning between Tesla and everyone else.
Especially with so many to have to evaluate. Okay,
Mm.
so let's go on to RoboTaxi because that was the other big story.
Yeah.
Tesla indicated that they were going to be rolling out into other cities. You actually, so it's rare that somebody gets the drop on me, but you had information I didn't have. So go ahead, I'll let you talk about what you know.
Yeah, so there's some job listings, but we'll get into what Elon said today in a second. But Phil Truby, he had a post on X that says, "Looks like Tesla Robotaxi will be rolling out in these cities next, based on autopilot job postings." And the first one he mentions, I did see at Tempe, Arizona,
Mhm.
Henderson, Nevada, Palo Alto, California, Jacksonville, Florida, Fremont, California, and San Diego, California. Fremont and San Diego are pretty far apart.
Yes. Yes, pretty far apart. Yeah.
So they're hiring bare minimum the autopilot or the ADAS drivers in those cities. I'm not out sure what else tip Phil off, and then Elon said the service area in Austin was going to expand this weekend for RoboTaxi. He also responded to Tesla owners of Silicon Valley who said that, um, will this come in Silicon Valley soon? Or I don't think he said Fremont. I think he said Silicon Valley, and he said that we applied and hope to be able to do it in 1 to 2 months. So they've submitted to the regulators.
So the regulators snap back or clap back, or somebody asked them, California is saying that they don't they are not in possession of any such application. So it must be more like a case of, assuming that California's not lying, it must be more a case of where they've had these conversations and they know that that's about how long it'll take once they
Mhm.
do put the application in. That's my guess based on what we know today.
Yeah, so the way I would take that is a decision has been made
Hmm.
to progress things with regulators,
Hmm.
and that Elon believes it will be done. So
Right.
it whether or not an application's been filed or whatever, that makes sense to me, Randy.
Yep, 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 yep. All right. So then, what do we think is going to happen
Because like Elon has so many things to think about, right? So like once you make that decision, then he thinks in his mind, okay, it's gonna be done.
yes,
So it's done.
done.
It's
Yeah, right,
done.
right.
All right, go ahead. Sorry,
Right,
Randy.
sir. What do we think is going to happen in Austin then?
I'm curious how far they expand the area. I don't think they'll yet allow for highway just because you risk fatality much more than city streets. So I'm curious how big it will be. I'm hoping they at least double the area compared to how they're operating right now.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the area they have now is about like 10 miles across and 3 miles tall,
Hmm.
but
Okay.
it's not quite 30 square miles. So it's got a little oblong to it.
Some people are thinking they might just duplicate what Waymo has on the other side of the river. Other people are hoping that they expand more than Waymo so that they can at least have bragging rights for covering more of the city.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I'm curious how many cars they end up going to.
Yeah,
So
that's the big.
I hope they at least double the number of cars, but it'd be nice if they, were to quadruple the number of cars. I think they could easily do 40 if they have enough safety monitors.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now you had a couple of slides, I think, about something. I forget what now.
So this was about the service area. Are you ready for that one though?
I don't know. Am I?
Well, let me let me get right to it.
Okay.
Or
I
let me just
wasn't,
turn that on and then so it's ready.
yes, I honestly I didn't recall exactly what the slides were. So I had to just
Okay.
ask, you know, I mean, this,
So Elon said expanding to a larger service area in Austin this weekend. And this is the meme that Stephen Mark Ryan drew, where right now it looks like this on the bottom,
right, right,
where it covers it south of the river. The river is right along here.
right.
And then, so it's on the bottom like that. So I once did a trip. It was 13 and a half miles. And because it doesn't use highway, we ended up all the way over there. Did that
Okay.
with Xander Sky,
Uh-huh.
who's on the Cyber Bulls. And Tesla RoboTaxi responded, now who would do such a thing? Certainly not us, no. Um, so maybe there's a chance we get something like that. We'll
Yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah. I don't know.
I I think a bigger way for Tesla to put their stamp on Austin would be to do a bigger size than Waymo. So I would agree with you. Like that'd be a bigger way to put their stamp on things.
Obviously, the other thing we'd like to see is remove that safety rider, and or give us some indication that they're reducing the number of folks that are overseeing things in headquarters on a percentage basis, on per car basis or whatever. Uh,
Hmm.
some people in the community have suggested they think that'll happen end of July, maybe early August. Do you have any thoughts how long you think it'll be before we lose the safety rider, or will this be something that they use in every city when it's initially introduced and then take them out in every city after a while?
I'm hopeful that they're done by the end of September. I think that would be a positive sign for that. I think once they figure out multiple areas in Austin, I'm hopeful that I think initially they would use them in Arizona and Florida and other cities in Texas, but I don't think it's going to be an always thing. So Tesla's base model, even if it's overtrained a little bit to some of what's going on in those states, the the base model of how it thinks should be greatly improved. Um, so yeah, I think they won't be a forever solution. So by the time they're going to their fourth or fifth state, I would be surprised if they had them. Now, it might be some cities require them.
Right, right.
And crazily enough, allegedly, New York City, if you want to have an autonomous car, you must have a safety driver at all times. And that doesn't, allegedly, it does not change. So, like,
Hey,
after a certain period of time, they don't let you get rid of it. So that's like a New York taxi cab
yeah, yeah, yeah. Protection racket.
cartel type thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right, so we now have a meeting scheduled for Tesla. We have a board meeting coming up on November 6th, I believe it is. One of the things that people are hoping will be discussed at that board meeting would be some potential purchases by Tesla of xAI shares. I have personally would rather see a complete merger. Lots of other folks are preferring a complete merger. Where do you stand on this uh, uh, big issue of the day? Do you think any of that will happen? Is there any particular way you'd like to see it come down?
I could be wrong, but I think as of today, Tesla XAI is still cash burning.
Mhm.
And allegedly it's $1 billion a quarter or something like that.
Okay.
So they're spending a lot of money on their AI compute, on the data centers, and I don't think they're getting enough revenue back right now.
I think they
Uh,
just raised 9 billion though.
yeah, from the outside, they
Right,
didn't get it from
right,
profits in the business.
right. Oh no, I understand.
So, okay, let's say they merge today
Mhm.
at the top of the hour. Let's say that happens. Um, so then is Tesla, when they want to do something, are they going to go have to issue stock? Are they going to have to issue some bonds? Because they can't they can't sustain big losses from XAI for a while. I think they're two different companies. They're in different modes financially. I understand how intertwined they are, and they will be. And Tesla's going to provide XAI a lot of data, I
Right,
believe.
right.
Um, so I do think there should be some kind of relationship, but I'm not sure about a total merger.
So
I
you'd like,
do think you need to get rid of conflicts of interest. So maybe is that why do you favor a total merger?
so I think that Tesla will be the largest company in the world by a lot because of
Mm.
Optimus, but I'm not sure that xAI won't be second.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't hurt to have ownership in that one as well. Not that it really matters. I mean, if Tesla hits the numbers they're talking about, virtually everybody listening right now probably has enough money to retire. So I guess it doesn't really matter, but it's just fun.
You're leaving out SpaceX though. I mean,
Well, I know SpaceX also. I mean,
tell
Brian,
me, you're a pretty nerdy guy. What's your internet speed at your house?
oh, it used to be 10 megabops or so, whatever those.
Yeah, are you like 100 now or 200?
Yeah, I think it's 100 now, maybe. Yeah,
So if SpaceX figures out Starship and they get the new satellites up,
yeah, yeah.
they're going to be able to do 500 uh, megabits or megabytes per second,
Right.
and it'll be better than your wired internet.
Oh no, Brian Wong said, I don't know if he still thinks this, but 6 or 7 months ago, he said on my channel, he thinks that Starlink alone could be the biggest company in the world.
I th I, I think this, and this may sound strange, but I think that SpaceX will become the most powerful company in the
Oh,
world.
it's powerful. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But humanoid robots and autonomy are, big world changing technologies. But
And AI is kind of big.
yeah, AI is pretty big. And maybe it'd be between SpaceX and xAI.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So I think I don't know if the $400 billion valuation now on SpaceX puts it back at the top of privately owned companies because Mars and Mars bars and somebody else were competing in there.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
so, and I think maybe even OpenAI is getting close to competing in there. But I think that might put them back on top of the largest privately held company.
I think OpenAI is 130. I could be wrong. 130 billion.
Yeah,
Yeah, 400 is very big for a private company.
very big. Very big. I guess the biggest ever.
And Elon's over 50% owner
Yeah,
of
yeah.
SpaceX.
Was he still over 50? I thought he was under 50 now, like 47 or 40.
Oh,
Anyway,
I could
whatever.
be wrong.
I don't know. I don't know. All right. So next would be Linda Y leaving. We've still not really heard anything about the reasons or the future or how that's going to impact. Have you heard anything or have any thoughts about whether that's important or not important or what you think will happen next?
I wouldn't read too much into it. Um, my take is that Elon probably wanted her to be more hardcore about some area, or they had a difference in opinion on some critical issues as far as direction and how to run things.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm guessing it was that, but uh, I entertained the thought of working for Tesla like 4 years ago. So I applied for their investor relations position
Okay.
to
Yeah.
assist with who would now be the head IR person.
Right. Right.
Um, and I thought, if I did that, I would have to go on sabbatical with my current business,
Sure.
but also that it's likely to only last maybe 2 years, but it could last four. But it like the most it would be is four with Tesla. So it's just a high pressure environment. There's just a lot of energy, and I'm 48 years old now.
And a lot of learning.
Yeah, I'm not 24.
You're not 24. You may not last. You may not last in that environment, huh?
Mm. So I don't read much
Yep.
into
Yep.
Linda leaving. It could be she had a buyout agreement.
Could be.
So if X got acquired, then there might be some huge payout that she got. So maybe she won to a huge payout
Mhm.
in a good way, not like
Yeah. Yeah.
a bad legal payout, but an agreement that between employer and employee. And maybe it's just huge that it was acquired,
Yeah.
and it was acquired technically
Right.
by xAI.
Right.
Um, so she might have got. I'm just I'm
Yeah.
just throwing things
Spitballing.
out.
Just
Like I don't
spitballing.
know anything. Like maybe she got $100 million from that.
Yeah. Right.
Um, if you hire on as a CEO, there's probably a bonus thing that you agree to. Like if you get the company sold for X dollars or more, and the next, while you're CEO, here's the dollars that you get from that.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm sure she did well. I'm pretty sure she
Yeah.
probably did well.
So it could just be that where
Right.
she suddenly got a 50 or $100 million, and it's like, this is cool. Let's enjoy life a little bit.
All right. Well, I commonly at this point I ask whether I missed anything. Is there anything else
Mhm.
that was on your list of things that you think are extremely important to the community right now?
I'll just say this, and I just thought of this. I think Linda Yaccarino did a great job with X
Yes.
and was a great CEO for Elon Musk.
Hmm.
Elon's probably very hard to work for.
Yeah.
Um, and that, that's not necessarily a negative, but she
Right.
did a great job communicating the mission of X, the values of X, and um, do it in a way where I think she had the right amount of touch and publicity when she was speaking out on an issue. So I think she should be commended for an excellent, superb job.
Some people today were suggesting that advertising may not really be the future of X or not very important as they're
Mhm.
just starting to release their financial side of of what they're doing. And of course, obviously, the X maybe will start to get some revenue. They're talking about $4,000 a year for or $400 a month, whatever it is, on the
Grok heavy.
Grok Heavy. They're probably going to start. They already mentioned that they're starting their enterprise solutions division, and so they're going to be having enterprise revenues coming in. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different revenue streams that are probably just on the verge of breaking. It may be that advertising is just not going to be that big a deal anymore.
Mhm. Yeah, I would tend to agree. I don't know how tough it is for them to do well in payments if they don't have New York. I do think there's some municipalities that may hold out on them. So like it could be a bit of a bumpy road. They could get a lot better with video,
Mm-hmm.
having a great
Much,
video
much better.
platform.
Yes.
Um, so they have a lot of improvement there, but secure messaging they just added,
Right. Right. Yeah.
which is a new one.
Yeah, no, I think there's gonna be a lot of product coming out in that some people, I didn't think of this, some people are suggesting it's just advertising is gonna drop down in terms of priorities. And that maybe an engineering leader of both companies or the combined companies is more important than somebody who's more on the advertising side.
Hmm. Yeah,
Because
that would make sense. And yeah, Linda Yaccarino did have a good relationships with the advertisers.
absolutely, yeah, yeah. All right. So one last chance. If you got anything else before you say the magic words.
No, let's get right to the numbers.
All right. See you next time. Thank you so much. All right. So where are we then after all of that? That was a great show, wasn't it? I mean, I'm talking about Bradford's part, not mine. That was really good. All right. Let's take a look here. We have got Tesla in the after hours up $1.63 after being up $14 today. So we're sitting at 311.50. It's still really, really cheap. Got to get back to 365 and then break through on its way to all-time high so that Randy won't be wrong by more than a month or two. All right, let's go ahead and look at where everything else is right now. If we go over to, okay, I was just looking at breaking news just in case it was important. All right, we've got the bonds up another 1 basis point in the pre-market, sitting at 4.356. So kind of not really horrible like it was yesterday or the day before, up over 4.4, but not nearly back to the 4.25, 4.19. But maybe we'll trend in that direction. By the way, I did a bunch of reading today, might be interesting to you. The the Fed is still uh, very restrictive on money supply to the banks, and so the RRPs they hardly have any money left in that entire fund. And I've been following this for a while now, and that's called restrictive. That's quantitative tightening. So the quantitative tightening is part of why these rates are staying up there. In particular, the rates though on the short end, but it impacts everything when you have quantitative tightening. So the Fed doesn't necessarily need to reduce interest rates as much as they need to start easing up on the money supply a bit, making more money available to companies and whatnot at a lower interest rate. All right, let's go ahead. We got so that was the bonds. Let's go on to oil, up 26 cents, reversing this morning's. It was down a little bit. Now it's up a little bit. So we're sitting at 66.83. There is plenty. I'm sorry. There's massive amounts of oil in our future, but right now there are some shortages. I looked that up for you. That is also what's impacting the prices right now. There is not a lot of supply and there is a lot of demand. So that is normal, right? So that's what's happening with oil right now. We've got natural gas up 0.96% at $3.37, very much in the middle of its range. We've got gold only up another 9. Guess what? We're not at 33.33, but we are at 33.34. So I would say we've been flat for the last couple of weeks. You got silver at 37.80. Now I think this is a recent high. It's up 1.33 today. Silver very much looking like it could go into that all-time high, even including the asterisk. We've got copper sitting at 563. That is definitely an all-time high, up 0.76. And this, as I mentioned this morning, I'll mention it again, the copper prices are not coming down. The tariff is going to allow these prices to sit there. These prices are going to allow copper companies to start extracting more, refining, whatever they do. I don't know what they do to copper, but the mines are going to go like crazy. There's plenty of copper in the United States. There's plenty of mining companies. There's 4 or 5 big ones. And all of them can increase their output if they get paid to do it. We've got the dollar higher right now. We've got Bitcoin. Are you ready for this? Here we go. I should have brought this up to Bradford. I forgot. Bitcoin. And by the way, CERN's going to be on in a few minutes. And I'm sorry, but when we're talking to CERN, we're not going to be talking about Bitcoin either in that show, but we will on Saturday morning. And it's going to be so old by then, but that'll only be like 1 minute of the show. All right. So we've got Bitcoin up 4,902. That's 4.41%, 115,976, breaking through the all-time high of 112, which was already breaking through the all-time high of 111. So, I mean, it is on a roll right now. We'll see where that takes us in the next little bit. All of the equities are up, but not very much. We've got the Dow up 0.07, the S&P up 0.09, and the NASDAQ up 0.14. But all of them looking pretty good there. And then I want to repeat this because there's a headline now on CNBC. The Pentagon became today the largest shareholder in a rare earth magnet producer, MP Materials. This is huge news, massive news. Another win for the Trump administration, in my opinion. I think it's a very smart move. Okay. That I think is all, except again, CERN Basher coming up. So hit notify. In order to notify, you have to be you have to be a subscriber. Join Patreon. That'll be fantastic. Or join become a member on or a subscriber on X, or join here on YouTube. All those are potential ways to support the channel. But remember, just watching. That's a great way to support the channel. Appreciate all of you. We hit over 30,000 now, almost up to 15,000 followers on X. So thank you for all of your participation and all of that. It's fantastic. And that's all I got for you right now. It's been great talking to you.